Fantastic. Thank you all for joining us for this on-demand session at Leaders Week Direct. I'm joined by Nick and Dane from CBS Interactive, alongside Ben from LiveU. For the next 30 minutes or so, we're going to be discussing how live sports production has been reimagined in the past 12 months and what lies ahead. Ben, first question to you. Can you give us a bit of background behind LiveU and sort of how you work with different sports properties?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So at LiveU, if we'll kind of start from the beginning and give you just kind of a general overview. I mean, for us, we provide basically all-in-one production level field units that are used for live video streaming, remote production workflows, which is what we'll be talking a lot about today, especially in the sports realm. But what we do is we leverage a technology called cell bonding. So essentially all of our video encoders that are on site for these productions have the ability to pull from different levels of networks, cell data and cell towers from different carriers, bond that together with maybe a Wi-Fi or Ethernet LAN connection on site. And so essentially you're able to produce and bring this video transmission anywhere you want to go. You're not tied down to anything. So in general, kind of that's the product line, I guess, or a lot of the workflows that a lot of our sports, especially customers, take advantage of. Everything from, PGA Tour to ESPN. Obviously, these guys at CBS Sports are doing a great job. So we're all over the map in the sports world.
Amazing. Well, let's dive into the topic area. Dane, I want to come to you first. Going back to last year, sports completely shuts down. What were the main areas of focus for you during that break?
Honestly, our biggest focus was how do we service fans that are in a business where they want an immediate, they're trying to stay in the now. There's scores, there's highlights, there's storylines, there's news, but all that came to a sudden stop. So for us, the challenge was, how do we stay relevant and current and service those fans when we don't really have anything? And thankfully, the NFL draft was still on the horizon. And even in a normal year, the NFL draft is king during that time of year. And so we rode that, and we rode that very heavily. We turned to talking about like lists and, best of this and best of that. So it became a lot of that. And it was a real challenge for us to stay current, because we went about 2 months before golf was our first, golf and MMA was kind of our first thing back. And that's so for us, the challenge was, how do we stay current? How do we stay on topic? How do we keep true to our fans, even though we don't have a whole lot we can bring them?
And Ben, I suppose on your side, from the technology provider, what were those few months like, and how were you interacting with your clients?
Yeah, I mean, as I kind of said, I mean, our products already kind of lent to this type of, I guess, situation with the pandemic and having to go remote with a lot of their productions. But I mean, I know for me and my team, we tried to just have a lot of conversations with guys like Dane and Nick and anybody that was in kind of the production field, and really get to see, okay, what are you guys trying to do, right? I mean, everybody's getting remote. You can't have people on site, all the basics, but like, everything from how are your comms working to how are you getting, video and program back out to these producers that are calling it now, from their directing from their homes. So we just had a lot of conversations and almost just kind of tweaked a lot of our products that we already had in line. So we didn't have to, shuffle too much, but adding things like, two-way comms and the ability for people to take control of maybe some IP devices, remotely, like PTZ cameras, that kind of stuff. We started to add those types of features into our product line just based on those conversations and kind of how everybody was reacting to it.
And Nick, coming to you, I mean, we discussed, the first events came back with MMA and golf. What was it like to produce those first events, and how much time did you have to prepare, and what were the initial challenges, I suppose, in this new world?
Well, for example, the golf was done by our CBS Sports Network folks. So that was basically just taking a feed from them. They had a lot of challenges doing it because, they quickly had to reinvent how they did these things. a big deal for us was COVID protocols, for example. No longer could they have the fans, at the golf sites and these massive production units. So like for us, we had to try to reinvent ourselves as well in kind of what Ben was just saying. In the past, we had relied on, those, like I said, those big production trucks, which couldn't do that anymore. The latest one that we did that was very different than how we had probably done it in the past was the NCAA Final Four. We in the past we probably would have had maybe 25, 30 people on site. We did that event with 4 people, and that was, wholly due to be able to leverage our LiveU partnership, because without that, we probably would not have been able to do that. Like I said, no longer are we going to have that many people on site. So we like Ben was just saying, we utilized PTZ cameras. We had one of their LU800s. To make sure that there was no doubt in anybody's mind that the signal will go through. We also leveraged one of their external antennas to do that, and came up without a hitch. Nobody knew anything different, and we were kind of proud of that production.
And obviously, to the viewer at home, the production would look flawless. But I suppose, what were the key learnings, or was there any sort of fires in the background that you had to put out that you didn't realize that you had to deal with, with sports returning?
We didn't really have any fires. I think we really sat down and thought the whole thing through. We had a backup system as well. We were connected through Ethernet as well. So that was basically our backup. Our sister company they were there as well, but they were able to do a little larger production than we did. But we basically are challenged here at CBS Sports HQ to be as efficient as possible with what we're doing. So it was a big learning experience for us, and we now know that we can do these things pretty flawlessly. Again, it has to be well planned, well thought out. Have to have contingencies in the back of your mind and plan for those. But for the most part, I don't think there were any big fires that we had to put out or anything like that.
No, I think the biggest thing is the fact that now we're looking at productions as real remote productions,
right?
Because now we're taking on just getting those camera shots, just getting the audio. And now we're just worried about transmitting back to the studio, because like one of the benefits of the LU800, we can send 4 cameras. They're all linked together. So now we have the ability to do a real REMI production at our fingertips, and we don't have to travel. We don't have to have
directors,
regular producers and directors. And now we've cut our manpower that we need in half. And we've seen that on even the larger productions where they're keeping announcers at home for a lot of games now. So guys are calling from their homes, and we're always relying on those Ethernet connections and all that, which gets a little dicey and scares us all a little bit because it is a little non-traditional. But what it's doing now is our manpower that we need on the road, it's cut in half or more.
Or more, for sure.
I suppose, COVID has created a ton of innovation across the sports industry. If the pandemic had not had happened, how long do you reckon it would have taken us to come to this stage now with remote production, these really small crews? How quickly did it accelerate things, do you think?
Oh, it accelerated it drastically, drastically, because, again, when the pandemic first hit and sports first started to come back, the Super Bowl was a perfect example. And again, we think big, and we want to have these productions be as flawless as possible. So you're putting people in place for every aspect of the production that you needed. But then quickly it came back. You're not going to be able to have all those people out there. You know that, right? So then you have to go back into, okay, what are the essentials? How can we revisit this? How can we do this in a different way? So as Dane was saying, having a full REMI operation where you can send these cameras back individually, okay, that's great. Now we can switch that feed back at home instead of being out in the field. So that was so you answer your question about how quickly it would have done it without COVID. We probably would have gotten there at some point, but COVID drastically accelerated the timeline for that.
The fact that we're CBS Interactive and we know we're the newer guys on the block, we were already looking at things in an IP world. We were already looking at things in those contexts. So for us, we were already kind of thinking along those lines. But for other divisions of, CBS, they have done things in a very specific way for a very long time, and they've had a great deal of success, and they've been able to, show more innovation in the cameras and everything like that they can do. So for them, it was a little bit more of a learning curve because they've already done this 100, or 1,000 times and had success. So why would they change? For us, we're looking for those opportunities. We're looking to grow because we're the interactive division. We are newer and we don't have that budget. So we got to find a way. How do we look amazing without having everything?
Timing is everything too, because I had previous experience with LiveU before. But what had changed from when I was using LiveU before to right around when the pandemic hit was the introduction of the 800, where you can combine 4 cameras into one unit. I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to have to try to get 4 units out there. No, one single unit. And that one unit will pass 4 cameras with audio embedded. It'll get return video back. And we also have IFB in it. So it literally is a truck in a little box, and it's changed how we do things. I think moving forward, I can't really see, as Dane is saying, I can't really see us going back we can't justify having those large crews out there on the road anymore because we have this capability.
Yeah, I was just going to say, guys, just kudos to you too, as you talked about, Dane, of just your guys' ability to always be looking for that kind of stuff. I mean, we had a lot of customers come to us, kind of the big boys, if you will, that like had the same idea and obviously needed to put in a lot of these protocols and have this type of production that we're just a little bit slower to it. I mean, I was insanely impressed. I think we talked like maybe a week or 2 after you actually physically got the units, and you guys were at the Super Bowl, had a 4 camera shoot like outside the stadium all weekend. I was like, oh yeah, okay, I guess you guys are rolling. You don't need me. So
yeah, the thing is with that, Ben, is that we're blessed. We're blessed here because our leadership, my boss in particular, is always willing to try those kinds of things. It's not that we want to set out to fail, but he kind of gives us enough rope that, hey, you discovered something and you think it can work. Okay, let's go with it. Have something in the back of your mind that if it doesn't quite work, you have an escape route, but let's do this. Because I mean, to be honest with you, we are an innovative company. So that's what we're here to do. We're supposed to evolve. We're supposed to do things in a smarter, better, faster way. Because again, we're at the core of our business, we're here to service our fans. And if we're not servicing our fans, they're going somewhere else. So, as technology changes, we have to change along with it. And I gotta say, I was pretty, just like you. I was not amazed because I knew we could do it, but I was pretty proud that we were able to pull that off.
We're riding on the edge. We know we're riding on the edge. You and I come from a very traditional television broadcast. We're rolling in trucks. We like to see our infrastructure there. We like to know that we have all that added manpower that it takes to roll in an entire truck. That's a nice warm blanket. That feels comforting. So in some respects, when we do this, it does feel like we're riding on the edge a little bit. Mm-hmm. But again, to your point, we're challenged to find new ways. So we are looking for new ways, and we are willing to ride that edge a little bit more, to the point that we're not feeling like we're on the edge anymore. We're just feeling like we're right where we should be now.
Right.
It doesn't feel scary to us anymore.
And Ben, from the LiveU side, did you have strict orders from CBS Interactive saying this is exactly what we want, or were you creating something and then offering out to your clients?
Yeah, like I said, we took a lot of feedback from customers, and even people coming to us for the first time, that hadn't done much remote production, really didn't know exactly what they needed, but knew the general concept of what they needed. And we took a lot of orders. Honestly, we took a lot of orders from them as to what do you need now. I mean, with them, they had this kind of envision of taking over these PTZ cameras and even lighting. They were directing some lighting from some certain production studios so that they didn't have to have people physically at these studios firing everything up for every show or any piece of content that they were going to shoot. So yeah, we were honestly more of the listen and follow type approach, because we were so thankful and grateful to have the base technology already in place for a lot of this. It was kind of just more now tweaking that to see, okay, what do these people actually need in these scenarios, and how can we kind of give it to them? So as they said, they were riding on the edge. We kind of were too, of like, all right, I mean, we know what we have is going to help. Tell us exactly how that is, and we'll kind of make adjustments. So that was a lot of our approach.
And Dane, coming to you, I mean, I doubt any of this is possible without cloud computing. So how much of a game changer has that been in remote production and what you do now?
I'm sorry, I missed part of the question there.
So with how much of a game changer has cloud computing been to be able to create what you have done in the past year?
Sky's the limit now. It's just changed our mindset. It's changed how we view things. Like I said, we don't feel like we're as far out there on the edge now. We're getting more comfortable with it. We know what we can do now. So for us now, the mindset changes from, okay, are we going to be able to have a nice, successful, clean production, to what can we add? I mean, that's what we always want to do. What's the next piece of technology we can introduce? How can we enhance this production now? So you quickly shift from being able to pull it off and knowing that you can have a nice, clean product that looks good. And if you can have a clean product, that's the key to everything. But now we want to see where we go for the future. We want to look at what other technologies we can incorporate, and how can we look bigger, and how can we look better.
A large part of our organization has not returned to the office. So, the cloud-based computing has really taken it to another level as well. There are lots of large files moving back and forth. Our engineering IT department is always hard at work trying to make sure that the backbone remains robust. And, it really has been seamless for us in that regard as well. We have large departments, all over this country now. Folks have been able to go back home, go back to wherever they want to, work remotely from different locations. So it's all remained relatively seamless to us. I'm sure there's a lot of hard work going on behind the scenes, but it's all paid off. It's all paid off.
And looking at the ROI side of things, I don't expect you to get into specific numbers, but how much are you able to sort of save with a more streamlined approach?
Huge. I won't get into specifics, but huge. Those are some hard conversations to have, and some of those conversations are, you not only are you not going to be able to have the same amount of manpower, and with manpower comes cost, but you're also not going to have that same budget to spend, because sports is not completely back yet. So you still have to manage that, rate of return that you're talking about. So moving forward, again, because we're more efficient, it's a win-win. It's a win-win. We're going to be able to do all these productions that we have coming up in the future in a much more efficient way, which helps the bottom line.
The return's it's a two-pronged thing for us. It's what you had mentioned in the numbers we even talked before, where in a lot of cases, we are 50% or more reduction in manpower of what we need on the road. So
Right.
to what you just said, that's a big savings there. But you and I were even talking before this, before, you roll your satellite truck up and $2,000, 2,500
Before you even turn it on.
before anything's ever happened to that.
Mhm.
So now you start multiplying that by the days, and we haven't even fired it up. We haven't even booked space. We haven't even done a thing. Those numbers start adding up very quickly. So, a little bit of extra cost on our part to make sure that we have the amount of data that we need, to make sure we have the amount of megs that we need. It pales in comparison to
Mhm.
when we add that all up. And sometimes, these productions aren't just one day. We're looking at productions that we have up for 7, 8 days at times.
Yep.
And we operate from, morning till night. Anybody who's not touched the budgets, the amount of overtime and the things like that, the things that we're calculating, it's massive. It opens the door for us.
And a lot of that savings too can be used now for reinvestment on the
Yes.
other side of things too. You are able to purchase more technology, invest in more technology based solutions when you can save on that side.
Perfect. And I think, we heard a lot about broadcasters really experimenting with fans not in arenas, stadiums, new camera angles, etc. Now that fans are returning, how has that sort of changed the way you've approached things in the last few months? And how are you, incorporating the fan back into your production?
Well, they're not quite back quite yet. They're slowly coming back. A lot of these arenas are not operating at full capacity. I just heard this morning that one of the local universities here in Florida is going to be operating at full capacity come the fall. So that's still to be seen. Obviously with the new technology, we can take up a much smaller footprint. So taking up a much smaller footprint will allow us to go into much tighter situations as well. I don't want to say what exactly is going to, because I don't know what's going to be there, but maybe fan cams, who knows, we could, the sky's the limit. Like Dane was saying, it opens up the realm of possibility. It really does. Because everything is getting smaller, more compact, more mobile. So no longer do I have to be attached to a wire that goes 300 feet. And so the possibilities are endless, really.
Fantastic. And Ben, coming to you, what does production look like in the next 2 or 3 years? What's the big focus for LiveU, and how are you going to be servicing your clients moving forward?
Yeah, it's a good question. And again, we like to take a lot of our lead from these guys and what they're doing. Certainly, the 800 was a big one. We actually just came out with kind of a new program, subscription more based type program called LiveU 360. So it's not new hardware, but it's just a different way of maybe offering and bundling our products together, kind of making it more of an all-in-one. Giving them unlimited data and an 800 and tally light and this IP control, just making it kind of more of a bundle type thing, and it's a month-to-month thing. Whereas, like they said, these budgets are obviously all changing as well, with maybe not as much capital, a little bit more looking to just kind of do something monthly on a subscription-based type stuff. So we're playing around even more with like how you even package these types of products and offer them together and match those the financials now that are going to be changing. So from us, it's always going to be trying to keep it as simple as we can, trying to get it as cost efficient as we can, but also obviously try to be as innovative as we can. So as COVID, evolves, or I guess, things start to open up and those productions start to change a little bit, I'm sure there'll be more innovation on that end as to how maybe, again, to kind of tweak these products. But for us, it's kind of just, again, taking their lead and trying to figure out a way that we can bring these solutions to these customers in a efficient way that isn't going to break their bank, and even more, just kind of go along more with the way that they need to structure kind of the money and the time and the people and bring everything together that way.
Oh, we're going to tap into you, Ben. We're going
No, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it.
Well, because for us, I mean, Nick has had more experience with the LiveU product than I have. We came out running and jumping out of the gate saying multi-camera productions, larger productions, and keeping the cost down was our first thing. But now we're even looking at how do we implement more of the technology that is already at our fingertips that we're not fully using and whatnot. So as you guys are rolling it out, we're looking for that because we want to figure out what's the next best thing. You know, we see so many productions and interviews right now where it's okay to have a Skype that doesn't sound very good or a Zoom that doesn't sound very good. But I cringe. I still cringe. I still want the better audio. I still want the more professional look. And I know Nick does too. So it's how do we tap into what you guys have to offer? And as you guys keep rolling out different things, you know, LU Smart, LU Light. I mean, there are a lot of areas that we are looking forward to what we get to tap into with you.
You like the professional look coming from the studio that you guys fired up?
we're okay with this.
That's awesome. No, I know this is fan. I feel like I'm like just in my own office. I needed to spruce things up a little bit now.
The only thing I would add to what Dane said too is that, you know, and I'm not being paid by these guys or anything, but it also helps to have a good partner in LiveU. I mean, they've been nothing but professional, very, very helpful. We're continuing to grow. We're continuing to face little challenges here and there, which they're very willing to sit with us and work through. So, and I think that's what moves this needle forward for all of us. Is they're not just, you know, selling us or renting us or leasing us a product and saying, here you go, you know, have at it. You know, it's those little things of, okay, so this is working really well in this area, but can it do this? And to be able to sit on the phone and talk to somebody and go and try to work out another solution, like the PTZ cameras, like, you know, DMX control lights, you know, like setting up an analyst in Buffalo, New York, or wherever it is. And how do we get that back? So coming up with the solutions to help us try to figure out how to continue to be more efficient. That's also a valuable component to this relationship and the future and moving forward, for sure.
Fantastic. Nick, Dane, Ben, thank you so much for your time. That's all we've got time for, but good luck with the future, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Guys.
Thanks, guys.